It gave you the strength. It was your pillar to go after it.
It was, and it allowed me to know that that I didn't have to complete the journey in my lifetime.
Right.
You know, I stand on the shoulders of many other women. When you think about it, women fought in this country for 70 years to get the right to vote. So that was a 70-year fight to get the right to vote. And that was only 100 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that incredible? It's interesting you brought that up because I have on my second marriage. I was trying to look for the right words to say that. I'm on my second marriage, and my wife, mother of my children, is much younger than I am, but she had never voted before we got together. And I just told her, I said, look, women fought for that right for a lot of years. I don't care who you vote for, please be informed and vote. Because what an incredible accomplishment at the time to overcome that segregation of women not being able to vote. I'm so glad you brought that up. It's critically important to women to understand that.
And let me just say that you vote on everything. I'm not just talking about politics.
Yeah, good point.
You know, talking about getting to yes, you vote on everything. And here's what has always driven me around playing my decade game is that you can vote on creating a life by design, not default. To play your game, your rules. And if you feel frustrated or anxious or compressed or contained, chances are you're playing someone else's game.
Yeah.
And you're not playing your game. So you can vote yes every day and all your choices. And they can be based on what you believe feels right, is right, can do right, will be right.
I love that point. I sit in a weekly meeting. It's filled with men and women. I'm in Montana, by the way. This is cowboy country. And the meeting's fairly small. There's a woman in there that is, she's running for an elected position in the community. And at the beginning of every meeting, they ask, hey, is there anybody running for the election? And the mic will be passed. And it tends to pass her by almost every time. Then finally, she reaches for it as it's almost out of the way and grabs it and then has the courage to stand up. And I pulled her over after the meeting. I said, hey, Constance, I said, you have a voice. Don't let that mic ever pass you up again. You stand up before it even comes to you. That way they know who you are. And the reason why I bring up that story based on what you just said, by the way, but also in some of these show notes, it talks about how you're an accomplished voice of women and leaders. And I would love for you to talk about that for a minute because I would so appreciate if more women could find their voice and stand up to say their yes, regardless of what it is.
Well, this is my favorite subject. Thank you for that.
Perfect.
And I'm really excited that my book is coming out in April, and it's called Epic, 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 exclamation point, the Women's Power Play Book. And you can choose how those words go together. Is it power play? Is it playbook? Is it women's power? Or is it women's play? Because it's all connected. What I have found in all of this navigation of a man's world is that women, and this is a generalization, but I'm just going to make it for this purpose. Women have an ambivalent relationship with power and ambition. Now, I have traveled all around the world in all these different jobs that I've had. And no matter where I am, I can be in Shanghai or Cincinnati or Rio. I ask this question if I'm with a group of women. Who here was raised to be a good girl? everyone's hands go up.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone knows that what good girls do and what good girls don't do. You don't invite yourself to a meeting. You don't impose on other people. You stay quiet. All these things, and there are themes and variations of this. However, when I ask a follow-up question, who is super ambitious? I don't actually know whether people are raising their hand or fixing their hair. There's this real hesitation, this tentativeness. And that's because we've been raised to be good girls culturally in our families. And that means to dream big, but play small. Don't make other people uncomfortable. Don't be too much. Take care of other people's desires before your own. And we have watched power exercised in a way that we are uncomfortable with it. But power doesn't mean power over. It can mean power with. It can mean power on behalf of. It can mean a power to say no. So part of this challenge of good girls and why I'm calling the book Epic is this 40, 50, 60 years we've been on that has been focused on women's empowerment because of this ambivalent relationship that we have. It's been getting women to get to an equilibrium of believing that they are enough, that they deserve to have their own yes. But that's not good enough anymore because the world needs our voice. It needs us to go from good enough to say, you know what? My unique contribution is always great. When I am authentically me, when I am authentically in my courage on behalf of others, that's epic.
Yeah. Yeah. I found in 2020, my wife found her voice, hypothetically, and started really having an opinion. I was so proud of her at the time. And since then, as a couple, we've really been able to accomplish a lot, not only in business, but in personal with our kids. We've got a 6 and an 8-year-old in our volunteer work and all the things that we do. And I just think it's such a great place to be for men and women to be on that equal playing field, sharing, collaborating, and doing together. Not only are we better to be in that type of relationship, but as you mentioned, the world is better. It needs it. And I think we all have different roles to play at different times in our lives. You talked about being a mother and a grandmother. I'm sure you're very loving at both. And I'm sure there's other times where you've got your business suit on and you're taking care of business. And I think that sometimes society loses track of that you can be both at different times. Just like a man, we change our hat and we do something different when we get home, etc. Women are the same. And I really appreciate you bringing up that perspective.
And I will also say, Jim, that one of the great things about this time for women is that we have been experimenting with these different worlds for a while. So we actually can be a wonderful model for the men that we love, who are just beginning to have the opportunity to really experiment with how do you be a complete leader, a leader at home, at work, and in the world. Because society hasn't allowed men to be the heart-based leaders that we know they are. Mm-hmm. So this is a really unique and beautiful time. And I will say that even though the pandemic has been super hard for a lot of people, a lot of families, I don't know any family that's not touched. When I think about my grandchildren and think that they've had an opportunity to see their fathers more, and see more what it's like to have mom and dad working more closely together. that's going to have a positive impact, I think, in the future.
Yeah, I've got a really important question along those lines. I've had some guests on recently talking about just the state of our children across the country, the depression, the high suicide rates. Montana's got one of the highest teen suicide rates in the country. What is your message for young adults? What is your message of hope, or strength, or courage to young adults that they can hold on to as we come out of COVID, as they grow up, as they venture into life and make decisions? Because I just don't think that there's enough messages out there for them.
Oh, I love that question. It makes me cry.
Yeah.
My message to the young people is, don't worry what anyone else thinks you should be doing. Play your game, your rules. It's beautiful. And there is no such thing as the wrong move. So here's a framework that maybe will be helpful.
Yeah.
In the decade game, I remind people that there's 87,600 hours in a decade. 87,600 hours. If you sleep 8 hours a night, that leaves 50,000 hours and change. It only takes 10,000 hours to become a world expert in something from knowing nothing. So what I want the young people to know is you can be your own investment officer. You've got 50,000 hours. You can invest it in 5 different areas that you're passionate about and become a world expert in 10 years, no matter whether you're resource rich or resource poor. And you can play your game, create your game board, do it your way, because the world is changing. And all the ways we said you need to do it before, they're not working. So you can be the inventor of a new game that works for you, and it'll be beautiful.
So true. You maintain, I'm certain, a level of satisfaction in your life, happiness, gratitude, and all those other things that so many people aspire to be. What are some of your routines that help you maintain that on a regular basis? Or, as an example, do you get up and meditate, reflect back, write 10 things you're grateful for every day? But what are some of your routines, tools that you have?
Well, I have a lot of axioms in my head that are sort of like my mantras. Mm-hmm. One of them is, if you want to solve a problem, you have to have fun with it.
Yeah.
So I try to look at everything from different angles. Another is maybe bad weather. No such thing as bad weather, only the wrong clothes. Meaning life doesn't happen to me. Life happens for me. So my job every day, no matter what happens, is to figure out how to make meaning out of whatever happened. Life is happening for me, not to me. And I give gratitude. I probably don't go an hour without finding something to give gratitude for. So I don't have to even wait to the end of the day. It's just knowing that no matter what happens, I can find meaning in it. And that, in some respects, is the essence of epic, which is to know that right now, no matter what, you have everything you need to have a life of meaning and purpose. You have everything you need to be able to discover meaning for yourself, meaning life is happening for me, not to me, and create meaning for someone else, because this isn't just about you. And if you can do that,